So it looks like we're streaming live now.
Yeah, it's just connecting.
Okay.
We are on.
Okay. All right, so it's 7:02. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Before we begin the meeting tonight, I got a little something I want to state. I want to take this opportunity to welcome Mary and Teresa to our municipal team. Okay, we look forward to working with you both. At this time, I also want to say thanks to our dedicated and committed employees who have gone above and beyond the scope of any job description, who have pulled together and truly put their personal lives on hold in some cases to serve this community. Your commitment does not go unnoticed. As council, we will continue to and are obligated to ensure that the municipal workforce is safe, healthy, and an environment where you feel valued. We will commit to our employees that we will do our very best to protect you from all harassment, verbal attacks, and do our best to ensure that you have all the tools at your disposal to adequately do your jobs in an effective and efficient way. You are truly the continuity of the backbone of this community. Councillors, we have faced some challenges over the past few years that has made it difficult for us to focus on acting as a level of government and, more importantly, leaders in this municipality. We have experienced how a pandemic can significantly change our lives and have had to adapt to ever-changing circumstances while at the same time maintaining service levels. We have also experienced an unfortunate turnover of some council members who were held to account for contravening the law and the code of conduct, which ensure both respect in the workplace as well as ethical accountability. Unfortunately, we also had to take a stern step of denouncing bullying and cyberbullying, not because we wanted to, because as the mayor and council, we are obligated to protect our rights and the ability to do our jobs without persecution and defamatory voices of a few angry citizens. This council is to be commended for overcoming all of these challenges in a way that leaves this community in a much better place. It is a privilege to serve as an elected official, and as stewards of the municipality, we will make decisions that are in the best interest of all the residents and property owners, and not just ourselves or a few vocal few. We are held to that higher ethical standard. I also understand and strongly believe that as mayor and council, it is our role to look to the future and consider what needs to be done today for our community to be vibrant, healthy, and resilient in the future. At the core of any community is its people. Today I ask my fellow council members and our municipal team to remember that attitude is contagious. It is also a choice. Let our attitudes be positive and focused on excellent service. Let's move forward and continue to build tomorrow by working together today. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to move on to the second item on the agenda, and that's to appoint clerk pro tempore. And I'll need a mover and a seconder to do that. Can I get a mover on that, Councillor Castleline?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Cross, will you second
Yes.
it?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. So be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of Municipality of Calvin hereby appoint Teresa Scroop as a clerk pro tempore for the purpose of this regular meeting of Council, June 14th, 2022. I'm going to take that for a vote now, please. How do you vote, Councillor Castleline?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you. Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
I vote yes as well, so this resolution is carried. So the next item on the agenda is item number 3, and suspend procedural bylaw. And A, it's suspend section 7 of the procedural bylaw related to the agenda. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder on this one. Councillor Shipman, can you move this one?
Yes.
Councillor Cross, can you second it?
Yes.
Okay, so we have this moved by Councillor Shipman, seconded by Councillor Cross. Be it resolved that Council Corporation Municipality of Calvin suspend section 7 of the municipal procedure bylaw related to the agenda for the purpose of this meeting. I think I'm stepping on Teresa's toes here. You're to be reading these, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to be quiet now. After this one, you can take over, okay?
Certainly.
Okay, so do you have any opinion on this, Councillor Castleline?
You were you were talking to me, Mayor Pennell, because my
Yes,
internet
I was
is.
wondering about this resolution. If you have any opinions you'd like to present?
Which section or which part of section 7 are we suspending? Is this pertaining to exactly?
Okay, so our the way the agenda is set out is a little different than what it says in the procedure bylaw, because we're going to change that. So that's why we're changing that. That's why we're asking for this change.
So it is basically the order of the agenda.
The order and how it's laid out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Cross?
Know that I'm looking forward to see how this will work and if it makes the meetings flow better and the information is set out easier. If it doesn't work, that was strange. Yeah, no, looking forward to see how this goes.
Sorry, that was me.
Councillor Shiplin?
No, I have no discussion.
Okay. Trying to call a vote on this to proceed. Are you in favor of proceeding in this manner, Councillor Castleline?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shiplin?
Yes.
And I am as well. Thank you. So this resolution is carried. So next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
We need a mover for the first. Mayor Castellan, would you be a mover? Councillor
Yes, I can move
Castellan,
this.
pardon me. And seconded by Councillor Shippen.
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Moved by Council Castellan, seconded by Councillor Shippen. Be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality hereby approve the agenda as circulated. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, Mayor Pennell,
Yes.
are you in favor?
Pardon me?
Are you in favor of this being resolved?
I am.
Councillor Castellan,
Yes.
Counselor Cross,
Yes.
Counselor Shippen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, I thought you heard me first time.
I did. Thank you. Moving on to point number 5, declarations of disqualifying interest. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that correctly. Pecuniary.
Pecuniary.
Thank you. I need a mover for the first part. Counselor Cross
Yes.
and Counselor Shipman.
Yes.
We now move this by Counselor Cross and seconded by Counselor Shippen. Be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of Municipality of Calvin hereby approve the minutes of the regular council meetings held May 10th, 2022. And Counselor Castellan, are you in favor or opposed?
Yes, I am in favor.
And Counselor Cross,
Yes.
Counselor Shippen?
I just have one question on, well, only because Counselor Cross was declared a conflict for the donation to the community hall, and there's nothing in there. It's almost like she didn't say or do anything.
Can I ask Peggy to assist in this question, please?
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. If there's an issue with the minutes, then we can amend them. If Councillor Cross actually provided a declaration that's in writing, it should have been included in the notes and the minutes. So we should amend them accordingly, and we'll bring them back to the next meeting. I would request that council defer the decision to the next meeting.
Thank you.
I did provide a declaration for that meeting, so it will have to be deferred.
So if I might, Your Worship, just to provide direction to Teresa, this matter will come to the next meeting, and that in your meeting minutes, you will say that this was deferred. The decision was deferred to the next meeting, so.
Thank you. The next point on the agenda, 7, council direction for the previous meeting. Moved by Councillor Castellan. Would you be the first mover?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Cross, would you be the second mover?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Castellan, seconded by Councillor Cross. Be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin defer the matter of community hall rental fees to the 2022 budget deliberations. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Councillor Castellan, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Cross, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Shipman, are you in favor?
Yes.
Mayor Pennell, are you in favor?
I am.
Thank you. Okay. We're moving on to point number 8, delegations. This is where we speak with Tim Hutchison from the Knox Hutchison Insurance Brokers regarding risk management. Glenn Turnock, planner, to respond to questions regarding the new zoning bylaws.
All right, am I okay to begin?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here. I've got a few brief slides prepared just to help keep us on track and give us some talking points. So I'll just go ahead and share my screen if that's completely fine.
I believe you should be able to share.
Okay. It's still saying it's disabled at the moment. If not, I can happily continue without the slides. There's just a handful.
I just changed a setting. I think you might be able to now. It was just on
Perfect.
host only.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Can everybody see the municipal insurance risk management screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. So again, thank you very much for having me tonight. My name is Tim Hutchison. I'm the president of MIS Municipal Insurance Services and a partner in our parent company, McDougall Insurance. We have been the broker of record for the municipality of Calvin for more than 10 years. We've got a very strong relationship. We're very happy to have this relationship, very appreciative of your time and you providing us with the ability to service your insurance needs and also provide some risk management advice. So just to give a brief background on who we are at Municipal Insurance Services, we're based in North Bay, and we're a member of a larger group, McDougall Insurance Brokers, that has 40 offices throughout Ontario. We're one of the largest privately held insurance brokerages in the province, which gives us an awful lot of credibility and clout when dealing with the insurers. So it tends to mean that we get very, very competitive rates from our insurance partners. Focusing on MIS itself in North Bay, we are the largest municipal insurance broker in Northern Ontario, and our program is specifically designed for our municipal clients, our public entity clients. Through our office, we have an exclusive partnership with Marsh Canada, which gives us access to the largest municipal insurers in the world. So when we're talking about municipality of Calvin itself, the risk, as we call it, for Calvin's actually insured right back through Lloyd's of London. That's the largest insurance market in the world, in London, in the UK. And we're insured with the largest municipal insurers in the world. So we've got a very large and stable product behind us. We're very happy to have the stability, the consistency in pricing, and a very broad definition of coverages relating to our municipal insurance package that currently services the municipality of Calvin. As part of our services, we not only will secure the insurance policies and coverages as requested and as we recommend, but we also are happy to discuss at any point in time risk management topics of interest. So the number one topic that came up in previous discussions with the municipality was questions surrounding hall rentals and what are some of the best practices and what should we do to properly protect the municipality when other individuals, third parties are utilizing our facilities. So that's what we're going to touch on tonight. We'll try to keep it very high level and discuss some of the basics that I'm sure you folks already do, but a refresher never hurts, and some of the more intricacies that we can tackle to make sure that there's appropriate coverages in place if something were to ever go wrong. If at any point in time through this discussion you have questions, by all means, please feel free to stop me and ask for clarification. That's not a problem at all. So to start off right at the beginning, anytime that a third party is renting our any municipal space, specifically the hall, we want to make sure that there is a formal rental agreement in place for all hall rentals. Why we want to do that is we want to make sure that we set out all of our guidelines for a third party utilizing our facilities and make sure that we've got requirements in place to ensure that they're following all of our guidelines, all of our steps to make sure that the event is as safe as possible. We want to make sure that a hold harmless clause and an indemnification clause is included because that's going to help protect the municipality. Effectively, what we want to make sure is that the individual or group that's renting the hall knows that they have to follow our terms and guidelines and that they have to operate the facility in as safe a manner as they possibly can while they're in control of the facility through their rental. Every individual or group who rents the space should provide proof of insurance to the municipality prior to taking hold of the space. Now, we do have details that go into a bit of the extenuating circumstances on the next couple of slides. We do have, as I mentioned before, very broad coverages in our policy. So our policy does have some coverage for third-party individuals who rent the space, but those coverages can be expanded or may have to be purchased separately by the individual renting the space if alcohol is involved. So we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. And of course, again, if alcohol is involved, we have to confirm that the required permits are in place anytime that alcohol is involved from any stretch. So we'll talk about that again, but we'll have to make sure that they have smart serve bartenders on staff and preparation for designated drivers to make sure that everybody's as safe as possible. Some items to consider, just general maintenance and housekeeping in relation to the space. We have to make sure that we're not renting it out to a group that's going to be larger than what is recommended for the space. So if our hall can only hold 50 people, that's the maximum number of individuals that can be anticipated to be at the event. Seems like a pretty obvious item, but we have to be careful, especially in some of the communities when we've had it come up in the past where there was a family gathering and what was supposed to be a small event turned substantially bigger than what they had ever anticipated, at least what was communicated to the municipality, and they quickly exceeded the maximum number of individuals recommended for occupancy, and steps had to be taken to reduce the number of individuals inside. They expanded outside, but eventually that had to be ended quite quickly. So it's something that we have to consider and that we have to highlight when we're looking at a rental agreement. We want to make sure that on a regular basis, we're inspecting our facility to make sure that there are no hazards around that could cause a tripping hazard or any risk to any of the potential users of the facility. We have to make sure when we hand over the facility to any of our renting partners that it is in a perfectly safe condition. And this means both inside and outside. The parking lot, if there is a open field next to the hall where individuals could potentially gather or use that space, again, we have to make sure that there are no obvious hazards around that individuals could be injured on, and then of course have to potentially take legal action against the individuals who are holding the party or potentially the municipality. From a security perspective, again, depending on the type of event, we'll have to determine if any security measures need to be taken. But from the very basics, we have to make sure we've got designated start times and designated end times for all of the events. Again, if alcohol is involved, this could be determined based on the liquor license that's provided. But again, we have to make sure that individuals know when they can get access to the hall, when they can begin their setup, and when everything has to be ended in terms of the party or gathering, and also when the times are available for cleanup after. Alcohol is always a risk factor that we have to consider. So again, if alcohol is going to be present at any one of the events, Smart Serve bartenders are required, and they have to provide proof of their certification prior to the beginning of the event. And the renters should also agree to support the designated driver program. So either provide non-alcoholic drinks as an alternative, and also alternative forms of transportation. One of the other good means of practice to go after is also ensuring that there's a supply of food in addition to alcohol, which can usually help eliminate some of the risks associated with overconsumption. And also make sure that whoever is signing the permits in terms of the alcohol license, they're also required to be in attendance while the event is on, and also to make sure that that individual is required with monitoring the event to make sure that it's safe for all individuals who are in attendance, and that they're following all of the guidelines as set out in our rental agreement to begin with. As I mentioned early on, our program's very broad, and we have some set coverages in place designed to protect the municipality. And one of those coverages that we have included in our program is a low-risk event liability policy that provides coverage for any third-party individual who is renting a municipal facility for a low-risk event. So these are typically classified as family gatherings. Maybe if there's a local card club that's renting the hall to have a card game tournament. It can even extend to stag and doe parties as well. This is a blanket policy that's on the municipal, part of the municipal package right now as we speak. And any event that comes up, if you have questions or concerns, if this would qualify, by all means, just give us a call and we'll happily clarify. But the umbrella is quite broad, and a lot of events fall under this specific coverage. And effectively what happens is every individual who rents municipal space is automatically named as a named insured on this policy. So it covers them for the event that they're holding and automatically names the municipality of Calvin as an additional insured on the policy. And it provides a coverage limit of $5 million. Now, what we've seen is the vast majority of claims, even quite serious claims, can be settled under that $5 million limit. So that's why we've gone after that specific $5 million. It seems quite high, especially if you compare that to the limit that most individuals will carry on their personal home or automobiles. It's usually around $1 or $2 million. Again, from a municipal perspective, we try to make sure that we could encapsulate all of the possible claims, including significant ones, with this policy. So right off the bat, any individual who rents municipal space will have coverage, assuming that their event qualifies. If we're talking about some sporting events where there's potential contact, bodily contact, then they may not qualify. But for most other events, they'll qualify under this program. It's important, though, to highlight that alcohol coverage is not included under the existing program coverage. So if somebody is renting the hall for a stag and doe, that's completely fine if there's no alcohol involved. However, if alcohol is involved, then we do recommend they secure separate coverage on their own. So there are party alcohol liability policies. They're called PAL policies that are readily available from any broker that individuals who are hosting those events can go out and secure them for typically around $150 to $200 per event. That number is very rough. It can vary based on the number of individuals in attendance is the largest contributing factor, and a few other items that their broker can help them with. In terms of our policy, can add on coverage for liability for an additional charge. It's not a significant charge. It's fairly nominal in most cases. But we can add that on. And again, what most of our municipal clients do, if they do add on that coverage, they'll simply adjust the hall rental fees so that they can recoup those additional dollars over the coming 12 months. So that's something that's available. It's an enhancement that we can tack on to our already very broad policy offerings. again, if the individuals do not have liability qualification under our policy, so again, if alcohol is involved, they can go out and secure that separate PAL policy, party alcohol liability policy. Again, if they're going to have alcohol at their event, and we're recommending they provide us with proof of coverage in the form of a PAL policy, a couple of things that we want to see is, again, at least a minimum of $5 million is our recommended limit, and the municipality should be named as an additional insured on that policy. And what they'll do is actually confirm the municipality's name and mailing address when they purchase that policy, and their broker that they purchase that policy through will actually prepare a confirmation of coverage and deliver it to that individual so that they can then provide it to the municipality to confirm that the appropriate coverage is in place. Again, those are typically a few $100s for those policies. It's something that, again, we can tack on to our existing low risk event policy, but that's on a case by case basis. So if the municipality views that it's worthwhile, if there's going to be a number of rentals where alcohol is going to be involved, and we want to make sure that that coverage is automatically included, then it may be worthwhile adding it on our policy. If not, then we just structure our rental agreement to state that if they're renting it and no alcohol is involved, they can be covered, and there's a set charge. And then if alcohol is involved, they have to provide proof of the PAL policy in order to go forward with the rental. All right, thank you very much for the time relating to the hall rentals. I'm more than willing, happy to take any questions you have about the hall rental discussion we just had, or any other risk management areas of concern or that you have questions. So,
Councillor Shippen?
I just have a question regarding the fields, like the rink and the ball diamonds and soccer fields. I mean, typically we don't have a rental agreement or whatever for those. So what is the risk liability there?
yeah, that's a wonderful question. I would recommend having a rental agreement for those as well, where we can clearly outline our requirements as to what's allowed and what's not. One of the things that the agreement gives us is a defense if something does go wrong, right? We can clearly state what's allowed when any individual is using any one of our facilities, and we can clearly state what is not allowed. And if they go ahead and use the facility in a manner that's against the agreement, then that helps provide us with a defense that shows if something does go wrong, we can clearly state we had precautions in place. We tried to prevent these things from happening. So I would recommend an agreement. You can tack on a small rental fee if you want to or not, but an agreement should be in place that just outlines what's allowed and what's not allowed at the facilities, when they can access it and when they cannot. Just as an extra means of protecting the municipality if something were to go wrong.
So we should have like the facilities are open from this time to this time, because there's a lot of people tend to like do a pickup game of baseball or soccer or hockey during the winter, and they just, you know, like they come to the rink and use the rink or use the field. So
Sure. Again, if they're open for, I should clarify that. So thank you. If they're open for just general public use, anybody can come and go. That's completely fine. If somebody's trying to coordinate an event around the usage of the facilities, then I'd recommend an agreement be in place. So it's the same thing that we have locally with our hockey team. With my son's hockey team, we'll take a bunch of the kids out to the local rink to do some quick practicing just for the fun of it. No problem there, no need for a separate agreement. But with some of the facilities closed over the past 12 months, we have tried to coordinate some larger events and games. And from that perspective, a separate agreement should have been in place to ensure that when there's a larger gathering of individuals and it's being used outside of that individual use, then we want to make sure that there's an agreement in place.
Councillor Cross, do you have a question?
I know that you mentioned low risk. I would assume that would be like low risk exercise classes or possibly, a fundraiser dinner type thing. What other things would you consider high risk? Something like a poker ATV run, obviously extreme sports of some sort. What other high risk things fall into that quarter category that most people may not think is high risk?
Sure. Another good question. Anything involving bodily contact or the potential for bodily contact falls into the higher risk. Anything involving a motor vehicle is definitely high risk. When we're talking about low risk exercise, yoga would be completely fine. Again, we want to highlight there's no participant's liability. So if an individual hurts themselves taking part, there's no coverage for the individual taking part. They're taking on that risk themselves, doing yoga or whatnot. But for most of the events that we're looking at, it's the dinners, as you mentioned. Some like ball hockey tournaments can be classified as low risk, so as long as there's no bodily contact. Bazaars or sales. One of the things that comes hand in hand with our policy, if you do ever opt to add on the liability coverage, is we do also that coverage can extend, the 5 million can extend to vendors as well when we add on that endorsement based on how it's written. So if we were to have a goods sale or a bazaar where individuals show up with their own items to sell for a fundraiser or whatever it may be, the vendors are actually covered themselves as well. Whereas typically would want them to each provide individual proof of insurance, which can be extremely difficult to secure because, again, when we look at those type of events and the individuals who are taking part, it's usually folks who are selling knit goods, for example, out of their home, and they don't have a separate commercial liability policy because they just do it as a hobby on the side. So that's something else that can be added on. But for the most part, low risk events are most typical gatherings, so long as there's not motorized vehicles involved or the chance for bodily contact. And we can provide a list as well. Every year as we renew the policy, we confirm some of the items that have taken part, some of the events that have taken part over the past year. And it's basically a checklist. We have a page-long summary of events, and it's just checking off how many we anticipate over the next 12 months. So we can easily provide that, again, to highlight what events are considered the typical low-risk type of events.
So if we have an event where the municipality doesn't charge a rental fee, because say it's a fundraiser for the community, how does the insurance work then? Everybody's still covered, as long as it's a low risk fundraiser, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's no need for a charge to be passed on to any individual for the coverage to take place. We just like to highlight that because there are, again, differing municipalities have differing financial capabilities. So for some of the smaller municipalities that we insure, the charge for the low risk event and the alcohol, again, is not significant. It's in the hundreds of dollars, but again, it's an additional charge. So they like to pass it on in a lot of the instances. We do have other municipalities that will not pass along any of the charges. They're longer. They can take the additional $1,000 or $1,500 expense. So they won't necessarily have fees associated with the hall rentals. So it's not a case where the hall has to be rented and exchange of funds has to take place in order for the policy to respond. It's there to respond for any third party who's using the municipal facility, so long as it's considered a low risk event.
Any further questions?
I have one. So let's say we have a number of roads in the municipality that are seasonal roads, okay?
Okay.
So we don't maintain them in the winter months, and in the summertime we do maybe a couple of grades, ditching if required. But let's say someone else decides that they're gonna do some maintenance on the road or on the roads. What is our risk as a municipality?
That's a very, very good question. And surprisingly, it is something that does come up more often than not in our region. So to begin with, as you folks know and are well aware, the requirements for maintaining a road are well defined in our minimum maintenance standards, and we have to follow those minimum maintenance standards to a T in order to ensure that if anything does go wrong on one of those roadways, we've got a defense that we can rely on by stating that we have followed the minimum maintenance standards and we've maintained the road as per our requirement. Any change in how a road is being maintained has to be clearly communicated to the public. So we have to post information of public place that individuals have access to, likely the website, where we can share and disseminate that information clearly and concisely to everybody who could potentially be affected. If there is an individual, a third party, who wants to maintain a road that otherwise is not maintained in the winter, the only way that would recommend that being allowed to happen is to have, again, a written agreement in place between the municipality and that third party, which stipulates exactly what they are allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do, and how they're allowed to maintain that road. In addition to that, we would want them to provide the municipality with confirmation of at least $5 million commercial general liability insurance for the risk that they're taking on plowing and maintaining the municipal road. We do not recommend in any way, shape, or form allowing any third-party individual to maintain any seasonal road in the municipality without a set agreement in place and without them providing proof of $5 million liability. If long way of getting around to answer the question, if we were to allow that, or if we were to look the other way, if the municipality knows that a roadway is being maintained by a third party and we're not regulating that maintenance in any way, shape, or form, then anybody who uses that road could make the argument that the municipality knew that it was not being properly maintained and could take legal action in the case of an accident and hold the municipality responsible for the condition of the road. And without an agreement in place, without liability on the third party that we could turn to, ultimately the claim could fall to the municipality. So again, it's something that we emphatically recommend to avoid doing. And if there is a third party who wants to maintain a road throughout the winter months, we should enter into a formal agreement with that individual outlining their requirements, and also confirm that they have at least $5 million commercial general liability coverage in place. To build on that, most individuals, again, we're based in North Bay, we're in the north, and a lot of the municipalities that we insure throughout our region, this question comes up a lot. Most individuals will push back at that point, saying that it's difficult to secure that coverage. They're not lying. It is difficult to secure $5 million CGL coverage just for plowing a single road, but with the appropriate broker and the appropriate markets, that coverage can be secured. It's not cheap. It's in our experience, we have been able to secure it for third parties who wanted to maintain some municipal roads for $5 million coverage, plowing about a kilometer of road. We have seen pricing in the $2,000 range. So the coverage is out there. It's not easy to find. It's not easy to get, but it is something that if the case does come up, we can provide some assistance and guidance just as a way to help protect the municipality and secure that coverage if the need be for the third party individual.
Thank you very much.
Are there any further questions?
Well,
I
thank
think
you very
that
much.
concludes. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say thank you very much for your time. And if there are any follow-up questions, by all means, let me know. I'm more than happy to share some additional details. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hutchison.
Thank you.
Next, pardon me?
Just saying, take care. Thank you.
You too. Thanks. I'd like to invite Glenn Tunick, planner, to respond to questions regarding the new zoning bylaw.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pennell and members of the council, for the opportunity to meet with you this evening. It's interesting, Tim Hutchison's last comment is probably a good segue into planning issues, because certainly the maintenance of seasonal roads is a concern to your municipality as with others. And there are certainly examples of other municipalities. Charlton and Dak, if you want to know, is one municipality that has entered into agreements with the private sector for the maintenance of seasonal roads. So I just bring that to your attention. But it's a pleasure to meet with you. And I tried to retire about 3 years ago, but committed myself to completing projects with municipalities and planning boards that were outstanding. And since that period of time, I was able to work with the East Nipissing Planning Board to provide for the completion of the official plan, which is now approved as of June the 26th, 2021. And following that, a municipality has 3 years to update its zoning bylaw. And as members of council are probably aware, I have been working on that particular document actually more than 2 or 3 years, I guess. But it's been a multi-municipal document in the sense that we wanted to ensure a reasonable level of consistency with the zoning requirements, zoning regulations in Kelvin, as well as in Papineau, Cameron, and Matawan. So the bylaws for the 3 municipalities are very similar. Matawan has their bylaw in place. Yours would be the second. Papineau, Cameron is still doing some work. But we've had the benefit of input from Jason McMartin, the clerk in Papineau, Cameron, in ensuring that what's in their bylaw is similar to what's in yours, or vice versa. So it's with that level of confidence the bylaw has been prepared. And the bylaw has been updated to modernize the bylaw to current standards, not just to implement the new official plan. And one of the things I think it's worth mentioning is the new provisions related to the farming community. As you know, farming is a key part of your economic basis in municipality, and we want to ensure that the farming industry survives economically and does well economically. So what's been added to your bylaw are, in terms of permitted uses, are agricultural related uses on a farm, and diversified uses as well. So that means that a farmer doesn't have to depend solely on revenues from crops or livestock. That if they want to run a farm vacation facility, if they want to have a little welding shop on the side, if they want to do other types of businesses or undertake other types of businesses that help them survive economically, then your revised bylaw makes provision for that. So I think that's an important asset. The one other is along the economic lines as well, is ensuring that the home-based businesses that you have enable people that can and need to provide services locally can do so, because obviously being a rural community, you don't have the Walmart next door or something of that sort. So local businesses, home-based businesses are an important way of providing services to local residents. So that section of the bylaw has been updated as well. But I'm certainly open to any questions you may have. I think it's my understanding that you're going to try and give first and second reading to the bylaw tonight, and maybe third reading at another meeting. That's the information I have. I don't know whether that's correct or not. So I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor, and certainly I'm willing to answer any questions that people may have, council members may have.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Turner? Guess not.
Not necessarily
Councillor
a
Cross?
question. I read through the bylaw, and I think it's a complete piece of work, and I'm ready to accept it.
Yeah. Councillor Cross?
Yeah, last I was aware, there was probably 4 different questions that were asked, and it had to do with the MX zoning, and I think the what was it, the RV allotment of how many you could have, recreational vehicles, and I think the other one was the units of animals. So those were all addressed and changed in our bylaw.
In response, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, the answer is yes. And this again is the advantage of having more than one municipality involved in the planning board or planning area. Jason McMartin, as you know, is a farmer on the side, and he was able to come up with a little table, and I guess it's probably the best way to describe it, that provides animals that people could raise for as domestic livestock for local food production. And actually, it was kind of interesting. I was able to have that table tested, and it was found to be a good table for the purposes of establishing how many animal units or how many animals you can have of various types, and what acreage you required to provide for those animals, and also to govern the production of manure. In other words, providing adequate disposal of manure. On the recreational vehicle issue, yes, the bylaw was adjusted to provide more flexibility and to provide for additional recreational vehicles should there be a need, and that's again related to lot areas. So that was addressed, and the MX zoning is also addressed as well. There was some toing and froing with the building official to come up with what was considered to be acceptable for your municipality.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
I don't see any.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Glenn Chinook. We appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, just a quick the question I had is that council's intent to give first and second reading tonight and then third reading at a subsequent meeting? Because my role in providing services to your municipality to kind of round off the exercise would be to prepare the notice of adoption. So can you please advise me what your procedure is or process is?
Okay. We would probably do first 2 readings one night and 1 reading at a following meeting, so that if there was any input from the public, we could look at that prior to passing the bylaw.
Okay, and I will be available. I mean, if you do need further feedback or a response to questions that might be raised, I'm certainly available for that particular purpose. And as I say, I do want to make sure that your bylaw is in place and approved before I fully retire from the services I've provided. Actually, for the better part of 20 years, I think I was looking at the stats and so forth. I think I've worked with your municipality for the better part of 20 years. And thank you very much for that privilege.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to point 9, legislative matters. Point A, consent agenda includes items of correspondence not requiring administrative reports or action. Committee reports not requiring any action by council. Matters that are for information purposes only. Point B, bylaws, bylaw number 2022-037, appoint a municipal clerk, Teresa Scroop. Bylaw number 2022-038, appoint a deputy clerk, Mary Stock. Can you just lower the next screen, Mary?
So are we going to do the bylaw to appoint the clerk and you and Mary?
I think we'll start with that first.
Okay.
Okay. We need a mover for the first move. Councillor Shippen, would you take the first move?
Are we going to do the resolution that resolves that we accept the consent agenda the way it is? Or, because we have that one in there too.
Yeah, we're a little bit, what happened there?
That's okay.
Yeah, let's do that one. Okay, so
And yes, I can.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And seconded by Councillor Cross.
Yes.
Thank you. So moved by Councillor Shippen, seconded by Councillor Cross, be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of Kelvin hereby receive the consent agenda items of June 14th, 2022 as circulated, less any items requested for separate review and discussion. Councillor Castellan, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Cross, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Councillor Shippen, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Mayor Pennell, are you in favor?
I am, yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I need a mover for the first part. Councillor Castellan, will you be the first mover?
First move on what?
On this resolution that we're looking to appoint myself as municipal clerk.
I can move that, yes.
Okay, and seconded by Councillor Cross.
Yes.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Castellan, seconded by Councillor Cross. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2022-37, being a bylaw to appoint Teresa Scroop as municipal clerk, be read a first, second, and third time this 14th day of June 2022, enacted and passed. And Councillor Castellan, are you in favor?
I would like to have some discussion on this, please.
Okay.
We have been confronted with new additions to the municipal office without any involvement of council at all, and it's starting to irk me a little bit. We have not seen any resumes. We have not had any chance to interview the candidates, and I'm just at a loss who they are. It's now we have a Teresa, and we had Mary first, and it seems that these people are hired without any involvement by council. I would certainly like to see actually who we are hiring, and not be confronted with suddenly a new person in the office. So is there any possibility that, because when we first advertised for a municipal clerk, we got to see the resumes, and we were able to discuss who and what they are, and whether we agreed with their qualifications. Now at the moment we just get presented with a name, and that's it. So I don't know. I'm having a problem with this.
I would ask Peggy to speak to your concern, please.
So, Your Worship, can we hear from the rest of council?
Please go ahead.
Councillor Cross?
What was the question?
Well, you heard Councillor Castelline, what he had to say.
Yes.
I just want to understand if this is the council opinion or if this is Councillor Castelline's opinion.
Okay. I do agree with what Bart is saying about not having any involvement, but I do understand also that back when we were looking for a clerk to do the clerk position, that we had given you a directive to go through the hiring process. So if we didn't want that to continue, then I think it was council's responsibility to change that. It would be nice to know. It's hard because usually this process is done by the clerk and hiring committee, and that's what we've done in the past. So with that not being done now, it is difficult to just accept what's being put in front of us. So I can understand his reasoning behind that as well.
Councillor, so Your Worship, I wish you to speak last. So if we can ask Councillor Shippen to speak.
Because we did agree that that you were to continue with the hiring process, I don't feel that we need to micromanage what is being done. This is something that would have been done by the clerk, as Councillor Cross said. The interviews would have been done by them, and the hiring process, and the person would have been brought to us to be voted on, pretty much exactly as we're doing right now. So I don't have a problem with the way it has worked out.
Your Worship.
Okay. At one point in time, not too long ago, we were left without one single individual in the front office. At that time, we asked you to take care of that situation for us. We initially hired one other lady to come into the office on a short-term basis to help out. And we did hire one individual. Then that individual left us for a reason not to be discussed. And we were left without anyone in the office again. we asked you to find a clerk for us and an office administrator for us, and to put somebody into those chairs. We didn't have the expertise to do it, and we didn't have the knowledge to do it. And we asked you to do that for us, and that's what is happening tonight. We're being presented with a clerk and an office administrator. Okay, they're both highly regarded. We've been working with the office administrator for quite some time now. She does very good work. The clerk is doing very good work as well, and that's what we're voting on tonight. And I strongly encourage everyone here to promote that vote, because if we don't do this, we're going to be back in square one again. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
So if I might, Your Worship, that's absolutely my understanding. And in a circumstance where council has agreed to have a municipal administrator, which we were not successful in recruiting for, we decided to make different jobs and deal with it differently because we couldn't find someone who was qualified. My recommendation at this point in time is that Teresa has excellent skills to be the clerk for your municipality. And I do believe that we have put her through our process and can stand behind her. I understand the concern because council has previously maybe seen resumes. It's absolutely not council's role. Council's role is to hire a CAO or a clerk treasurer or a municipal administrator, whatever the senior management position is. Everything else falls to that position. And in the circumstances council has found themselves in, we have been asked, E4M and the team that I work with, to help provide some of that expertise. We have recruited for a municipal administrator. We were unsuccessful. The people who applied were not qualified. We did a second campaign to look for someone who could be your clerk. And Teresa is well qualified from a professional expertise. She may not have experience as a municipal person, but she can absolutely learn that. We are putting forward this evening that she be your clerk. And it's council's decision. We respect council's decision. And Your Worship, I'd ask if you can call the question.
Okay. So I'd like to ask everyone to vote on this, actually, with what's been said by everyone. Okay, and that should all be taken into consideration. And I'd like to call a vote on this resolution. Councillor Castelline, how do you vote? Yes or no?
In spite of everything that has been said, I'm still having a problem with the lack of involvement that we have had as a council. So unfortunately, I will have to vote no. And that has nothing to do with the person of Teresa or the person of Mary. It is just, for me, it's just a procedure.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Cross, how do you vote? Yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Shipman, how do you vote? Yes or no?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried, and Teresa Scroop will be our municipal clerk. Thank you.
Can I ask Peggy a question, please?
Yes, please. please.
Can I ask that you do the same procedure for this resolution for Mary Stock?
So if I might preempt the conversation and to maybe give Councillor Castelline a bit of understanding. In the municipal sector, council is responsible to have a CAO or someone who's the most senior manager. That is their employee. Everybody else would be someone who the staff would like the CAO would recommend to council being the most qualified person. And our opinion, E4M's opinion at this point in time, is that Mary be appointed as, and I see it says interim deputy, and that should not be interim, it should be deputy clerk. Because she has the skills and ability to do this job. We have reviewed her credentials. We have experienced her in the short term, in the emergency situation that we are dealing with. And we believe that she is qualified to take on this role. So we are recommending to council that they appoint her as the deputy clerk. Council is also aware of the fact that when you don't have a clerk and a deputy, that when you don't have a clerk, you have no one who can actually take on the role of the clerk. So we're proposing in the future that council have a clerk and a deputy clerk. And I'm willing to answer any questions, Your Worship.
If anyone has any questions, please go ahead.
For me, it is again, as I said with Teresa, I have nothing against Teresa. It's nothing against the person. It's just that I feel closed out. I feel that we had no chance of reviewing or even discussing the potential appointment. So again, I feel at a loss. I would have loved to be part of the process, and he most likely would have come to the same conclusion. But again, I feel that we have been excluded, and yeah, that's to me the biggest disadvantage.
If I might, Your Worship.
Yes, please.
Council's role is to set policy and be a governing body. Council's role is not to look at the resumes of every staff person or to deal with these things. Council would hire a CAO, and in absence of that title, it could be a clerk treasurer. We actually agreed with Calvin Council that municipal administrator was the right role. And in the absence of finding someone who was the right fit for that role, council agreed to work with E4M to provide you with support. And we have done that. And we are recommending that Teresa be your clerk, that Mary be the deputy clerk at this point in time, to ensure that council can continue to provide services at the level that your municipality is used to. I want to just, kind of step back a bit, and I understand that in the past and in other communities, councils are used to being involved in the hiring of staff. It is actually not the role of council. In the Municipal Act, there is nothing in the section that defines council's role that says council is responsible to hire the person who answers the telephone. Council's job is to hire the CAO, or in the absence of a CAO, someone who has that equivalent authority. Right now in Calvin, council has agreed that a municipal administrator is that person. You have not been successful in finding someone who's willing to work in that position in the municipality. Council agreed to divide the position between clerk and treasurer and other things, our recommendation is that both Mary and Teresa are the right fit for the community at this time. So, Your Worship, if other councillors have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Councillor Cross, do you have any questions?
I don't quite have a question. I just basically have I understand what Bart is saying. And I think a lot of this is coming from the fact that council hasn't been able to meet. We haven't been able to interact with our residents, not being able to interact with the staff. And I know that is discouraged. We did give a directive for E4M to do the hiring process. And we, in the past, have had the committees to do that. But we also had the CAO or the clerk to be the one who does the interviewing, because that's the person who knows what questions to ask, because they know what they're looking for. I personally have never been in an office setting, so I would not know what to look for or ask for. So in the long of it, I've had some, what am I looking for here? Meetings with both Teresa and Mary. I think considering what Mary walked into, she has done exceptionally well. And I think she has great potential. We were not able to find anybody with the experience that we were looking for. And we have two candidates, one of which is a Kelvin resident and the other is just next door. I think that this is a good fit, and let's move forward.
Councillor Shipman, do you have any questions?
No, it's not I don't have any questions. I just, we asked E4M to be our clerk, basically, to find us two people to be in the office, which is what they did. And now it's all we have to do is appoint them. I'm not having any issues with this. I do not believe that as a group, we would have been able to come up with anybody better. Probably somebody a lot worse. So I really don't see any downside here.
Councillor Castline, do you have anything else you want to offer or say? Or?
No, I think I have said what I wanted to say. And I have to repeat over and over again, it's not against the persons. It is just by feeling locked out, by feeling not being part of the process. And that's it.
Okay, I got one thing to ask you. Do you not agree that we asked E4M to find these people for us?
Yes, we did. I was just hoping that we would have had a little bit more reporting from E4M about the people that they had found, and so we could talk about it. And that is something we have not had, and that's why I'm saying I feel this is just suddenly thrown on me. We are hiring somebody that we have not been able to discuss that, and it's not against the people. I've met Mary and I like her. I've met Teresa last week and I like her. But it's just, yeah. I don't really know what else to say.
Okay, understood. It was my opinion that we had hired E4M to find these people for us. because we didn't have the expertise to do it ourselves. And we didn't know what qualifications they needed. A4M went out and found us two very good candidates who we're putting into those positions tonight. So I'd like to proceed with this resolution and see how it works out. Okay? Can you proceed, please?
Thank you. Councillor Cross, would you be the first mover?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Shippen, would you be the second mover?
Yes, but as Peggy mentioned earlier, the interim deputy, the interim should not be in this resolution. So could we have that removed?
Of course.
Thank you.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 2022-38, being a bylaw to appoint Mary Stock as deputy clerk, be read at first, second, and third time this 14th day of June 2022, enacted and passed. Councillor Castellan, are you in favor or opposed?
For the reasons I have expressed before, I am opposed.
Councillor Cross, are you in favor or opposed?
In favor.
Councillor Shippen, are you in favor or opposed?
In favor.
Thank you.
I'm in favor as well. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor Pennell. Okay. Councillor Castellan, will you please be the first mover? And Councillor Cross, will you be the second mover?
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Castellan, seconded by Councillor Cross. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2022-39, being a bylaw to establish bank signing authority, be read as first, second, and third time this 14th day of June 2022, enacted and passed. Is there any discussion on this? Councillor Castellan, are you in favor?
I wanted to have a discussion on this first. I see that there is a Schedule A and a Schedule B. On Schedule A, is there one person, or are all people or all persons mentioned on this Schedule A? Are they have signing authority? And on Schedule B, are all persons mentioned on that have signing authority? What is it, or must we select one of them?
Can I ask Peggy to please answer that question for me?
Your worship.
Yes, please.
So the idea is that all of council ought to have their names on the list of signing authorities at the bank. So that would be Schedule A. Schedule B would be all of the staff that are identified by their title. And one of council and one of staff should be signing checks, other documents as are required. And so if I understand your question correctly, Councillor Castellan, it's one member of council and one member of staff. So one on Schedule A and one on Schedule B.
That was not completely my question, because there is 4 people mentioned on Schedule A. But what my question was, would they all have signing authority combined with one from Schedule B?
So I guess I don't understand your question. And I'll give you an example. If the staff need to have a check signed, anyone on the list in Schedule A could sign, plus only one of those people. So if they can't get the mayor, if they can't get the deputy mayor, if they can't get other councillors, they have a list that they can go to try and find someone who can sign checks. The same with the staff. And I've had experience where council's been not available and only staff cannot sign a check alone. It's one council member, one staff. I'm not sure I'm answering your question.
Yeah, sort of, kind of.
Okay. Can you frame it a bit differently so I can understand?
You have 4 people on the list. I was wondering if we have to select 2 of those people, or 3 of those people, or 4 of those people that are authorized to sign a check, combined with either number 1 or number 2 from the list B, because we have in the past, we have never had a councillor being able to co-sign a check. It was always the mayor and the deputy mayor, and it was always the clerk and the administrative assistants. So I'm a little bit surprised about the actual large number of people that can co-sign and sign a check.
And so I guess that's actually, and makes it more clear to me what you're asking. So my experience has been the mayor and the deputy mayor were away. And they were gone for a week at a conference. And so we couldn't produce payroll because they weren't there to sign the checks. I am of the impression every single member of council ought to have the ability to sign if necessary, whoever is available. So to me, it's kind of like an overtime list. We call the mayor can't come, we call the deputy mayor. The deputy mayor can't come, we call the next person. So at least, and it's a member of council plus a staff person. And I've also experienced where, you know, the people on the staff list is very narrow and you lose someone, which is why we went to titles as opposed to names. If you have, because as you know, we've experienced difficulties recently in doing certain things because we didn't have the right names on the list to do things. And it just gives council a wider range. I was surprised that only the mayor and the deputy mayor had signing authority. In the communities I normally work with, it's all of council. And it's one member of council and it's who's available. So you always start with the mayor and you work your way through the list. Does that answer your question a bit better?
Yes, it does. I was just surprised by the large number of people that would gain signing authority, and that's not something that I in the past 8 years was familiar with. So that's why my question.
And if I might, Councillor Castelline, I totally understand that. My concern is always about risk management, and the idea being that you send the mayor and the mayor and the deputy mayor on a trip somewhere and they get in a car accident and they're in the hospital and they can't sign something. So you need to have someone else who can sign it. And that's why the list is there. It doesn't mean that each member of council can sign. You have to have council and staff, and it's only for banking. It's not generally.
Understood.
Okay. Sorry it took so long to explain.
Is there any other questions or discussion around that? Okay. Okay, Counselor Castellane, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Counselor Cross, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Counselor Shippen, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Mayor Pennell, are you in favor?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, Counselor Shippen, will you be the first mover?
Yes.
And Counselor Castellane, will you be the second mover?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Moved by Counselor Shippen, second by Counselor Castellane. Be it resolved that the municipality of Calvin Council receive the restricted acts lame duck period report for information purposes, that 3 readings of the delegation of authority bylaw, August 19th to November 30th, 2022, be undertaken, and in the inaugural meeting date for council be adjusted to Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. Is there any discussion around this? Councillor Castellane, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Cross, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Councillor Shippen, are you in favor?
Yes.
I am as well. Yes.
And I'm sorry, Mayor Pennell. I'll get this. Okay. Councillor Shippen, will you be the first mover?
Yes.
And Councillor Castellane, will you be the second mover?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Shippen, seconded by Councillor Castellane. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2022-19, being a bylaw to repeal and replace bylaw 2000-011, being the zoning bylaw, be read first and second time this 14th day of June 2022. Any discussion? Okay, Councillor Castellane, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Councillor Cross,
Yes.
Councillor Shippen,
Yes.
thank you.
And I am as well.
And
Thank you.
for now. I have my apologies.
That's fine. It's our first meeting.
I just have another question.
Okay, thank you.
I think we missed another one, which is a delegation of authority to the municipal clerk for the
After the election.
lame duck thing.
I thought we had just done that one.
We did,
No, that
We
was
did-
before.
we
that
did
was
that
before the
one.
election.
we
that.
did.
And then the next one should have been the delegation of authority. Should it not? Oh, you put it all together.
Yes,
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, I'm good.
thank you. So moving on to bylaw number 2022-041, agreement for shared building services. Councillor Cross, will you be the first mover?
Yes.
And Councillor Castellane, will you be the second mover?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Moved by Councillor Cross, seconded by Council Castellane. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2022-41, being a bylaw to enter into a shared chief building official / building inspector / property standards bylaw officer services agreement between the Corporation of the Township of Papineau Cameron, the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin, and the Corporation of the Municipality of Matawan be read a first, second, and third time on this 14th day of June 2022, enacted and passed. Any discussion? Councillor Castellane, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Cross, are you in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Shippen, are you in favor?
Yes.
Mayor Pennell, are you in favor?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Moving on to C, public hearings, planning / zoning matters. Councillor Castellane, will you be the first mover?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, will you be the second mover?
Yes.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Castellane, seconded by Councillor Cross. Whereas an application for consent number 2022-10 in the name of Raymond Belair, agent Michael Belair, has been filed with the East Nipissing Planning Board on land known as 0 Morrow Road, Concession 8, Part Lot 33, Municipality of Calvin, for the purpose of creating one residential lot of approximately 2 acres. Now therefore, the Council of the Municipality of Calvin resolves that it is recommended that the East Perry Sound Planning Board give professional consent to this application, and a copy of the completed survey for the new residential lot and right-of-way shall be provided to the municipality in both digital and hard copy. Is there any discussion around this?
I have a question. Is Morrow Road a seasonal road?
No.
Okay, thank you.
It's right at the corner of where Mount Pleasant meets Development Road. As soon as you turn on to Mount Pleasant, there's another road to the left, which is Morrow Road, and there's a number of homes on that road, and it is maintained year-round.
Thank you.
Councillor Castellane, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Cross, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Councillor Shippen, are you in favor?
Yes.
Mayor Pennell, are you in favor?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to, where are we here? Excuse me for a moment. We're going to move on to consent application Belair 2022-10. Can you move that?
The 11.
To 11, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay, moved by, can I have Councillor Shippen?
Yes.
The first mover, okay. And seconded by Councillor Cross.
Yes.
Thank you. Whereas an application for consent number 2022-11 in the name of Michael Buffett has been filed within the East Nipissing Planning Board on land known as 1398 Peddlers Drive, Concession 14, Lot 17, Municipality of Calvin, for the purpose of creating one residential lot, approximately 2.2 acres and a right-of-way. Now therefore, the Council of the Municipality of Calvin resolves that it is recommended that the East Perry Sound Planning Board give professional consent to this application, and a copy of the completed survey for the new residential lot and right-of-way shall be provided to the municipality in both digital and hard copy. Is there any discussion around this? Okay. Councillor Castelline, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Councillor Cross, are you in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Shipham, are you in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
I am as well. Thank you.
Mayor Pennell. Thank you. So we're moving on to administrative matters. New business reports from officers/employees on various issues, including reports from departments which require council approval. Point 1, resignation for Kim Brooker. Can I have Councillor Castelline be the first mover?
Yes,
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Cross.
Yes.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Castelline, seconded by Councillor Cross. Be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin hereby receive the letter of resignation from Councillor Kim Brooker. Is there any discussion around this?
Will you be reading that letter, or is that just,
I was just going to ask. Would you like me to
Okay.
read that letter?
yes, please?
This was sent and received on June 1st, 2022 to clerk and CC'd in Mr. Mayor Ian Pennell, a resignation letter. Dear Mayor Pennell and fellow members of the Municipality of Calvin Council, I'm writing to inform you of my decision to resign effective immediately from my position as councillor. I have made this difficult decision for a number of reasons. As new Calvin resident, I came to this position full of optimism and the belief that I could use my experience elsewhere to help make Calvin an even more beautiful, better, wonderful place to live and work. I know that you, my fellow members, are all here for the same reasons. I believe that we have all experienced harassment and stress related to our positions, one degree or another, through telephone messages, texts, emails, voicemails, and on social media. The harassment, bullying, and cyberbullying by a very few members of the community have led to my decision to step away from a role I initially enjoyed and from a hardworking and dedicated council that I've always enjoyed working with. The escalating stress I've been feeling due to the harassment since becoming councillor in 2021 has contributed to an exasperating health issue, and I'm resigning to preserve my future health. I am saddened that the toxic bullying behavior of a few have led me to make this decision. I wish you all the best in your futures on council and with the future of Calvin. Sincerely, Kim.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on this matter? Councillor Castellan, are you in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Cross, are you in favor?
Yes,
Councillor
I wish-
Shipman? Pardon?
just I wish her well, that's all.
Councillor Shippen, are you in favor?
Yes.
Mayor Pennell, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
And on our next meeting, can we have this on the agenda to declare that seat vacant?
I will, we'll do that. Moving on to the next point is accessibility memo and report. Can I have Councillor Shippen be the first mover
Yes.
and seconded by Councillor Cross?
Yes,
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Shippen, seconded by Councillor Cross. Be it resolved that the Municipality of Council acknowledges receipt of the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin 2022 Elections Clerk Accessibility Report and Plan. Is there any discussion around this?
Is
Councillor-
this also, can I? Is this also going to be distributed to the Calvin residents?
Can I ask Peggy to speak to that?
I might, Your Worship.
Yes, please, proceed.
Okay, so this is a requirement under the Act that the clerk provide an accessibility plan. And yes, it will be on, I would suggest that we would post it on the website once council is aware of it. And I'm not sure that we would actually mail it out to all of the residents, but I do think it should be on the website.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay. Councillor Castellan, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Cross, are you in favor?
yes,
Councillor Shippen, are you in favor?
Yes.
Mayor Pennell, are you in favor?
Yes,
Thank you. Moving on to next point. VS Marketing Memo and Quotation for website. I need a mover. Can we have Mr. Councillor Castellan, will you be the first mover?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And can I have that seconded by Councillor Cross?
yes,
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Castellan, seconded by Councillor Cross. Be it resolved that the Municipality of Calvin Council set aside its procurement policy and agreed to extend website services by means of entering into a 6-month agreement with VS Marketing for website site support at a cost of $475 per month plus HST. Is there any discussion around this?
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
I understand that VS Marketing already did some of our website work. Is that correct?
that is correct.
So, this contract is just to confirm the relationship then?
To confirm the extension of a further 6 months of using their services at a cost of $475 plus HST per month.
Okay, so we already had, then I understand that we already had a sort of a contract with them, and this is an extension for 6 months. Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Castellan, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Cross, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham, are you in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I am as well. Thank you.
Mayor Pennell. Next point is stripe authorization. Can we have this moved? First mover is Councillor Cross
Yes.
and seconded by Councillor Shipham.
Yes.
Thank you. Be it resolved that the municipality of Calvin Council grant written authorization to Teresa's Group and Mary Stock to access the stripe program. Is there any discussion? Councillor Castellan, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Councillor Cross, are you in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Shipham, are you in favor?
Yes.
Mayor Pennell, are you in favor?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Next point is the financial update statement variance report. That is not there. So we're at, leadership issues, Councillor Cross request. First mover, Councillor Shipham, would you be a first mover, please?
Yes.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Castellan. Would you be a second
Yes.
mover? Thank you. Be it
Yes.
resolved, thank you. Be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin Council meetings resume to an in-person council meetings at the Municipal Hall and meeting to be live streamed onto YouTube. Is there any further discussion on this?
I have something I'd like to say.
Go ahead, thank you.
I think that we need to be careful if we're going to do this. I was just looking yesterday in Sudbury area, there's still 16,000 cases of COVID. Tonight I was watching the news and they're talking about monkeypox and having that changed to not an epidemic, I don't know the exact word, but it's getting pretty serious as well. I think if we're going to have meetings at the hall, I think we have to start off firstly by ourselves and have the meetings with the council and staff and get our streaming working properly. And then as time goes on, open it up to the rest of the residents. We also have to have some rules there, I believe. And I think one of them should be like maintaining our distances and that sort of thing. So that's all I want to say about that. All right. I think we have some work to do before we go here.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, please.
Should we not first cancel the emergency status of the municipality?
We could do that. We haven't had a meeting for a considerable length of time now, for a couple of different reasons. A couple of the members of the group aren't with us any longer. But once we have our clerk in position, then we should be able to call a meeting, and if it's an agreement by all of the emergency management group, then we could do that. Yes. I don't think it's necessary to do that before we do this, though.
Well, I was just asking this because Bonfield has just lifted their state of emergency. And I was wondering if Calvin would be close to being ready to do that also, because I think we should lift the state of emergency first before we can actually go back into in-person meetings. I would love to go into in-person meetings, but we need to follow the proper procedure.
Can I ask Peggy to perhaps speak to that? I think they might need a little bit more information.
All right, Your Worship.
Please.
So my experience has been that most communities have relied on the province to declare the emergency. And I agree with Councillor Castellan that if Calvin has actually declared an emergency, we need to lift that or modify it in order to actually be able to move to a next phase. I would suggest and recommend to council that what we do is look at the July meeting and suggest that we do a hybrid where we would modify the emergency or rescind the emergency and put out what council agrees to in terms of having in-person meetings. I agree with what the mayor has said in terms of the fact that your hall is small. You need to ensure that you respect social distancing, that staff are safe, council is safe, and we cannot control who comes in because, I mean, I guess you can, but those policies need to be in place before you actually take that step. So if I might, Your Worship, I think this gets deferred to the next meeting.
So, and in that time, we would try to put some rules in place to do it?
Correct, Your Worship. And if we could ask council for some guidance on that this evening. I guess my concern is I was unaware of a state of emergency. It really changes this resolution because I agree with Councillor Castellan. If that's out there, we have to deal with it first. I also think it deals with the vaccination policy and other things that council has already agreed to and how that impacts what you do. And I would suggest that council defer this and request that staff bring back a report in July.
Okay. Everybody in agreement to that? Councillor Cross, it's your resolution.
I agree that the emergency needs to be lifted, and we should be looking at the policies that we have in place and making sure that everybody feels safe, including the people who would want to attend the meetings, that everybody feels safe. We need to do our due diligence to make sure that is ensured. I feel that with what's going on now, that this is the time that we need to come back to meetings in-house. I feel that we've lost a very good counselor for a number of reasons, and one of which I think she has felt a disconnect of not being able to even meet any of us in person. I think even for the next person that may come into the vacant seat, may not have the same privileges either. So I feel that it's time that we move forward, bring some togetherness to the residents, some healing, and we have to make the first steps also with figuring out how to do the live streaming within that. That's going to take some time as well to figure out. But I definitely feel that it needs to continue to be live streamed for the people who don't want to attend the meetings. So I just would like this on the next agenda.
Can I make an additional comment?
Yes, please.
Can we instruct staff to make sure that the equipment that we do have is actually functioning as we hope it will, in preparation for returning in live meetings? Because if we do decide to go back into live meetings sometime in the future, we do not need to be faced with sudden technical or otherwise difficulties that would put a damper on the jubilation of meeting again.
I think that sounds reasonable. Yes, Lovelace?
If I might, Your Worship, I'm wondering if we could maybe do a hybrid meeting. I know that there's an emergency, that there's things going on, but maybe we could test the technology for the budget meeting on Thursday, the special meeting, if council's willing to meet in chambers. And we can put the technology to a test to make sure it works, if everyone's agreeable.
Okay. That would be a closed door meeting initially?
If I might, Your Worship,
well-
I would suggest that it's only for council to be in chambers, plus staff
We would
and.
stream it though. Yeah. I'm okay with that if everyone else is.
I think we
Councillor Cross.
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Councillor Castelline.
yes, it would be nice as a first step. Thank you.
Councillor Shipman.
I'm good with that.
Okay, we'll have to see if Jacob can work his wonders, or whoever does that work. We might have to get our IT guy involved as well. Okay, so this gets deferred till next month, right?
Can I ask for a point of order, please?
Go ahead.
Did we do bylaw number 2022-19, the first and second reading? That is the zoning bylaw?
I think so.
I don't
Yeah.
remember a first and second reading. That's the thing.
It was included as one. Two. Can you bring it forward, Mary?
What bylaw, sorry?
2020, 2019, that's the one you got there, the zoning bylaw?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you want me to actually pull the bylaw up?
No, just
No.
looking for it. Excuse me while I just find it here. Okay.
I thought we did, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Well, we mentioned we were going to do it, and
Yes.
but I don't remember.
After the delegations of authority. Believe that you're correct, Councillor Castellane. I believe we missed that one.
Did I?
Pardon?
I said good eye.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Castellane, will you be the first mover?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, would you be the second mover?
Yes.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Castellane, seconded by Councillor Cross. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2022-19, being a bylaw to repeal and replace by law 2000-11, being the zoning bylaw, be read at first and second time this 14th day of June 2022. Any discussion around this?
I think I was looking forward to get the zoning bylaw approved. So I was looking forward to this resolution, and that's why I think I remember that we missed it. So I think it is an excellent bylaw. I think it is complete, and also after the latest revisions, it takes care of all the concerns that we had.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Castellane, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Cross, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham, are you in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
I am as well.
And Mayor Pannell, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're moving on to the in-camera pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act. We'll meet in a closed session to consider the following: confidential human resources matter, including employee negotiations. Subsections B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including an municipal or local board employees, and D, labor relations or employee negotiations. B, a request to purchase municipal property. Subsection C, a proposed or pending acquisition of disposition of land by the municipality of a local board for the purposes of employment matters, employment contracts, and property matters.
If I might, Your Worship.
Please proceed, Peggy.
So if we can scroll back up, we forgot a couple of things. Under the 5-year financial plan, I wanted to give you a brief update on the asset management plan. As council may or may not be aware, the municipalities entered into a contract to have a third party help with the development of an asset management plan. And we hope to have the plan ready for council to review on at their July meeting. There have been a number of hiccups, and I think we've got them all ironed out. So I just wanted to give council an update about that. And the next part under the item D, the new policy and update on the level of service bylaw. Council may recall that when Cindy presented a level of service bylaw, the outline of it, council agreed to support that going forward. And we are working on that. But one of the things I wanted to talk, well, two of the things I wanted to look at is one is the fact that council agreed to keep the office closed on Thursdays to the members of the public for access either by telephone or coming into the building. I'm encouraging council to continue with this until at least September, when we can reevaluate after the the new staff have time to get used to the procedures. I would like to have the level of service bylaw completed and ready for council for their July meeting. This may be a temporary measure, but I think it's important that council really looks at this as maybe only a short-term solution, but potentially a long-term solution. The other piece of what I wanted to talk about is the reserve and reserve fund investment policy. The municipality has invested in GICs or a GIC up until recently. It came due. And when I looked at your documentation, there is no policy that says you can, like the treasurer has the authority to invest in a GIC or to do anything. And my concern is that without a reserve or reserve fund policy, staff should not be investing into a GIC. And council ought to have a policy that says we're going to commit to reserves or reserve funds. The experience I've had is that, yeah, we have reserves, but we can't actually allocate how much is to a specific reserve. So I'm suggesting that part of this update on the bylaws and the policy that we do is that we actually provide you with a reserve fund policy. I don't need a resolution this evening. I just wanted to bring this to council's attention that we're looking at giving you an update, and it'll come to the July meeting. If council has any feedback for us, I would prefer that you email me about either of these things.
Okay,
I'm happy
thank
to
you.
answer questions, so your worship.
Okay, so let's move on.
So in camera pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act, Council will meet in closed session to consider the following. I did read that. Can we have Councillor Cross be the first mover, please?
Yes.
And seconded by Councillor Castelline.
Yes.
Thank you. So moved by Councillor Cross, seconded by Councillor Castelline. Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin hereby move into closed session at, will we say 9:15 p.m.?
Yeah.
Pursuant to the Municipal Act, Section 239, to deal with a confidential human resources matter, including employee negotiations, subsection B, personal matters about a identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and D, labor relations or employee negotiations, a request to purchase municipal property, subsection C, proposed or pending acquisition of disposition of land by the municipality of local board for the purpose of employment matters, employment contracts, and property matter. Is there any discussion around this? Okay. Councillor Castelline, are you in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Cross, are you in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Shipham, are you in favor?
Yes.
Mayor Pennell, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.